All right, we're off. So today we're going to be joined by Mr. Mike Montes, Mike Mangiardasini.
Very nice.
See now, right?
Great
Got
job.
it. Did I get it? Go. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so before we get started, let's clarify a couple of things I got wrong the first time we talked, right? So, the Strafacci family, right? There were 5 brothers. Frank Strafacci is Tyler Strafacci's grandfather. Frank's brother Tommy was the head pro at Diker Beach, along with his son, who followed him in the footsteps. They had an older brother named Dominic, who won the MGA Pub Links, and I guess there was a 5th one that I don't know, didn't have mentioned there. But they have, like I said, that's the Italian golf legacy originating in Brooklyn, New York. Okay. Now, my buddy Richie Lopez, who worked for your father Sal,
who I confused with George Lopez.
Right, not the comedian.
No.
Was the comedian there too?
No, there was a Lopez that worked for my dad, but it wasn't. That's not the Lopez I remember. Bobby Lopez worked for my dad.
Okay.
But you're
Bobby Lopez, the guy who gives classes now. Okay. Yeah, he's pretty popular. Yeah, George Lopez, the comedian, actually follows, I think, Gotham Golf Blog on Instagram. But anyway, so Lopez worked for your father, right? Ed Fergal was not
Miami
at
Shores.
Blue. He was across the street,
Miami
right?
Shores.
He was nearby.
Shores was a good 20 minutes from the Fontainebleau.
Okay, so he had worked with Fergal at
Miami Shores was on Biscayne Boulevard in it's not far from 79th Street Causeway and Biscayne Boulevard. You go north and it's right in that pocket there. But you'd have to jump on 95 and go south to 836 and 836 out to Flagler, to the Palmetto and to Flagler. Fontainebleau was on Flagler, 1st Street and 87th Avenue. Doral was on 36th Street and 87th Avenue. So 36 blocks south was the Fontainebleau from Doral.
Okay. Now, Lopez played at Dade County Community. And he also played at
Dade
FIU.
South.
And he played at FIU also. So you guys have similar backgrounds. Actually, you spoke to him on the phone, and I put you guys in contact just to confirm.
I mean, the best thing I did when I was at FIU was by winning the Dade Amateur in 1984. They flutie through that Hail Mary at the Orange Bowl. It was raining in South Florida. I was at the Palmetto and golf course on 100th and US 1. I had shot, I believe, 373s in the rain to beat Strafacci. I guess it was one of the sons. I don't know which father was his.
And the family. So hey, you got chalk one up there.
But I remember the father coming up to me afterward and saying, because I hit the ball so terribly those 3 days, but I made everything I looked at. He came up to me and says, I've never seen such a putting exhibition. And if you ask me what I was doing, you want to laugh? I was putting with a Spalding cash-in, split grip like hockey. And I was just sweeping it, like taking it back small, like 1/3, 2/3. But I would just look at the hole and I just made everything.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a few seconds. I want you to look at this and let's see what you make of this.
What do you got, Ralphie? Let's see.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a guy down in Florida. He would play that JC Goosey Space Coast Tour. The younger people wouldn't know about this, but the older guys would. That mini tour down there was a Florida mini tour. You can make some pretty decent money down there. Go down there for the summer and play, and you can easily go down there and make 50, 60 grand.
I remember that, sure.
So back then that was very spendable. I'd buy you a ticket to Australia and set you up on the tour down there or something, But there was a guy that was one of the top guys down there, and he had the craziest looking golf swing you've ever seen. I mean, he had this grip. It was like double strong. He took it back about hip high, just ripped through it. His head just dropped way down, and crazy looking finish. It was just just like some caddy yard crazy looking thing that you just, no way. And this guy would just clean up down there. And he came up to play the Canadian tour, and he drove his 911 Porsche up there with his, his club dancing girlfriend in the car, this beautiful blonde. He was walking down the fairway in stilettos or whatever. He was like, and this guy with this crazy swing. And I remember playing with him, and he back open, and he, just shoots 65, I mean, just wiping everybody out. And it's just not a pattern you'd teach to somebody. but this guy could just play circles around everybody. So I just refused to not acknowledge that. Like, what is this guy doing? And what is this guy doing over here? This other guy with his crazy swing. And then there's some guy with a long flowing swing, a John Daly kind of a thing going way down. It's not textbook, right? Nobody teaches that, right? But here you have all these just great players, but what are they doing from P3 to P4? What's happening there? How they get there? They take it outside, they take it inside.
We're back. So you know who he's talking about. Okay. By the way, that's John Erickson, a friend of mine, close friend of mine. We know each other now maybe 15, 17 years, something like that. And he's like former All-American at Fresno State. Played the Canadian Tour, played the Australian Tour, and now he's got a site called Advanced Ball Striking where he teaches people golf. But as you get the gist of the story is you have all these guys lined up with, all these track records, and up goes this guy in a Porsche with a hot blonde and stilettos with the ugliest thing
I
in the
knew right
world,
away.
takes their money. All right, so tell us about it. Who was it?
That's the one and only Jeff Lewis. And
Jeff Lewis.
I got to tell you
okay.
about Jeff. I was 1988. I was 24 years old? Yeah, I was 24 years old, and I'm getting my beak wet, and I'm putting my money up on the mini tour, and I had already been playing for money, both in a gambling sense and whatever event I could find in South Florida, all the way up to Deltona. But when I found out about this circuit where they had an event every single Monday and Tuesday, it became a routine. Get your money together, hit the road Sunday morning, drive to Orlando, grab a room at the Days Inn, and if you could play a practice round, you would. But it got to the point where you knew a bunch of the guys, and sure enough, one of my friends from Miami, Joey Shackman, Jeff was older than me, and so was Joey. Joey's a big left-hander and hit his long irons like Weiskopf, and was a great putter. He should have made the tour, Joe. Like I told you on the last podcast, there's so much that goes into becoming a tour player. It's not just about ball striking at all. Otherwise, I could tell you 20 guys that belong out there. But Jeff, he had an aura around him, almost like Greg Norman. First of all, the guy was a duke, like really, really handsome dude. Not every hair he was born with, slicked back, square jaw, white teeth, blue eyes. Everywhere he went, the girls were all over him, and very athletic. He wasn't a weightlifter, but he did calisthenics all the time. I ended up rooming with him. So at the Days Inn, I'd get one room, he'd get the one next door, and there was that passage door. And I was kind of gluing myself to him because this guy didn't know how to shoot over 66. Every week it was like the Jeff Lewis Open. Everybody was playing for second. I mean, he could flat out play, Ralph. Teed it up high like I do, like 4 inches. He sat low with it. He took it outside, looped it under, and then caught it on the upswing and got the ball to launch high, but it was tumbling end over end. It would just go bang, bang, bang down the fairway. Hit his irons great, but a clutch putter. But if you were to ask me, I did an interview a few years ago, and I mentioned Jeff because I was talking about believing in yourself, and how important that is. And I was telling the story that I got back to Miami one day and I had shot 69, like 74. I didn't bring it home. And I'm like, Dad, this guy, Jeff Lewis, have you seen his swing? He says, I've played him for money, Mike. I said, oh, dude, what's the deal? He goes, well, first thing you have to know is Jeff Lewis wins because Jeff Lewis believes in Jeff Lewis. End of story. End of story. Because if you don't have permission inside your heart to win, like if you don't feel you deserve to win, you can hit balls to the cows come home. You could chip and putt and do whatever, and look great. Comes down to crunch time, you have to feel that you deserve to win in order to close the deal. And this guy was just a walking aura of confidence. But man, he could play. But the funniest thing is I'm a young kid, and I'm like, all of a sudden you hear it's 2 a.m. on my hotel room door. I'm like, what the hell is this? I opened the door. She goes, where's Jeff? I said, you got the wrong door. He's in the next door. Sure enough, his girlfriend was driving up from South Florida in a jealous rage, looking for him. I'll tell you another funny thing is he knew how to handicap sports betting, and he always had his newspaper and a pencil with him in the tournament in the golf cart. So one day he's playing really bad. We're on like the 7th hole, and I see him with his feet up in the cart. His legs are up, and he's got the sports page, and he's looking at the action coming up. I'm like, what are you doing? we got to finish this round. He says, if he's not like running away with the tournament like normal, he just would leave. He says, at the ninth hole, he's like, I'll see you, Pards. He called me Pardsy. I'll see you, Pards. See you back at the room. I'm like, where are you going? He goes, no, I got to get some action down. Nothing's happening here. Like, if he didn't have it going, he's out of there. But quite a character. One week he said, hey, Mike, will you fly up to Boston? I'll pay you and drive back a Porsche for me. I said, you're buying a Porsche, Jeff? Yeah, 944.
That's the
Yeah,
Porsche with the
yeah.
stilettos that
So
John
I
was up there in
fly
the
up to
Ontario
Boston.
Open.
I find the car, and I drive it all the way back to Adventura, where he was hanging out. So that was fun. But yeah, Jeff and I were good friends. But like I said, I was young, and I had always been around tour players, you know, with my dad inside the ropes. I'm hitting balls with Lee Trevino. I'm playing practice rounds with Sevi. But those guys would come into Miami for the Florida swing and leave. You wouldn't see them again.
Those guys, yeah, they're New England
No,
Yankees.
I'm talking about the PGA Tour would come into South Florida and then leave. You wouldn't see him again for another year when I was a kid. So I wasn't starstruck with Jeff, but to have a relationship with a guy who was already been on the PGA Tour and now he's playing with us on the Space Coast Tour in Orlando, and you know, not learning anything about the golf swing by no means by him or chipping or putting, but just learning that it was about the confidence. You know, same with Stephen Ames. Stephen Ames was hanging out with us on the Space Coast. And I got to tell you, like I told you last time, I'm skipping rope. I'm running down Orange Blossom Trail. These guys are having a good time. They're hanging out by the pool. They're so relaxed. And I remember the day Stephen Ames said to me, hey, Mike, I found it. I said, what'd you find, Steve? He goes, the putter. I found it. I said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm gripping it more in the palms with my left hand right up the middle, and I'm making everything. Do you know, a month later, I never saw him again. The following year, he won the Western Open. He was off to the races. He found something. When you find something that you can make 10 footers and in really like a high percentage, that's the difference. Because
they can all. That's what. They're all going to.
That's what takes you to the next level. You know, you could shoot 72 and 70 and 71 all day long. You're not going to get on tour, and you're not going to make any money. You need to fire 65s and 6s, and I didn't do enough of that, you know. And it was the putter. I wish I was putting with my putting then, but you wish in one hand and poop in the other, you know.
Well, you know, we're in a different environment now from a golf standpoint. In that, you know, I remember those days. But like I said, Jeff and those guys, they're from New England.
Well, you mentioned Pete Morgan. So Pete dominated up there.
That's the devil himself, okay? Pete Morgan is the devil himself. If you see him coming, just don't, you know.
No. I told you, I butted heads with him. I was first, he was second. He was first, I was second. This went on for a long time in South Florida. And then he would disappear and go to New England, and he dominated up there. They were from the Cape Cod area.
Yeah.
And
they owned it.
I told you, I drove from Miami to right here to Innisbrook for a state open. And the guy was just in the car like this. He wouldn't talk. I'm not too much on talking. I spoke to Jeff Lewis today, as a matter of fact. I'm like, what's going on? What happened with Pete? He goes, well, you know, that probably got to him. I respected Pete. I liked Pete. He was a nice guy. We both shot 72-67 at Bayshore at Miami Beach in a Miami Open and went into a playoff, and he took me 6 holes, and I lost on the 6th hole to Pete on that one. But yeah. You know what he did?
Yeah, it's too bad that
he shot 67.
All we have today is storylines.
I swear I had something. I had something to do with it. I'm on the green in regulation. It's a par 5. I'm on in 3. I got about a 15-footer. Not a great shot because he hit his 4th shot into the bunker. He lies 4 in the right bunker. I could still see it. And I said, I got over the wedge. I said, just throw this at the middle of the green. All you got to do is make par. This he lies 4 in the bunker. He's going to make a bogey. I'm on the putting green waiting for him to hit his bunker shot. And I'm looking at him. And I said, I just said, he's going to make this son of a bitch. He's going to make it. Boom, boom, in the hole. Now I got a 2-putt to tie. He holed out for 5 from the bunker, Morgan. And then takes me 6 holes and I lose the 6th hole. But yeah, that's how he shot.
Yeah. But that's, again, that was a different
we were
time.
grinding.
There's so much golf.
We were grinding for our life. We didn't have any money. We wanted to get on tour. Every dollar was $1 million to us. You know, that first place was maybe $1,500. that meant a lot. I could go play for a few weeks with that, you know?
Yeah. No, that's now you get like nationwide tours, and
Yeah.
there's a bunch of
We
mini
didn't even
tours
have
out
that
there
then.
that
We
no,
had
you didn't have
Space
any of
Coast.
that. No. And that wasn't
Yeah.
affiliated with the
I think you had
PGA
the
Tour,
Hogan
like,
tour before the.
Hogan Tour came
Okay.
later. Hogan Tour, that was PGA. That's what now is Corn Ferry. Depends on who's sponsoring it, I guess. The
Yeah.
name changes, but it's the same. It's the same tour as the Corn
If you don't
Ferry
have
Tour.
anything,
But you didn't
if
have
you
that
don't
back
have
then.
anything on your mind, I
I'm
think
sorry.
I want to talk for a minute about this closed circuit that's become the PGA Tour. So
Sure.
I don't know if you probably know because you're somewhat of a historian. Do you remember back in the '60s, if you didn't make the cut, you had to show up at Monday qualifying?
Yeah, Monday
Right.
Rapids.
And there was a
Yeah,
lot of
Rapid.
there was a lot of
Monday.
spots on Monday. When
Sure.
they made an all exempt tour, it used to be the top 60 money winners, then it was the top 100 money winners, then it was the top, and you had a lot of spots at tour qualifying. But when they made it all exempt and the only way in was tour qualifying, which was
Cure School.
four
Cure
rounds
School.
and 6 rounds, advance, and it was $5,000. So I wasted $5,000 a few times not making that cut. To me, it was easier to show up, get a bus, a Winnebago, and go play every Monday qualifier. You're liable to shoot 67 or 8 and get one of those 4 spots on a Monday, get in the event, make the cut, and get on the money list. That was easier to me than playing the tour in my mind. I mean, playing tour school. Tour qualifying was.
I think they still have the 4 spots.
But here's the issue. They're now starting to take certain events, and I can't think of the ones right off the top of my head.
Yeah, the elevated
No,
events
they're
and
not.
stuff.
They're
Sure.
taking the name Open off of it. You had the Doral Open.
Right.
I heard it's coming back.
Now they're becoming
They're going to start making them
invitationals. Is that what it is?
classics and invitationals so nobody can get in. So my
Well,
short
you know what?
message is it's easier to play the tour than to get on it. Once you're in,
Well, take this, for example. And I'm going to do a series with my friend Jeff Jones, Slice Fixer. And we were talking about it because he's currently working with this kid was a Texas All-American. He got injured. First name is Brad Elder, to try to get him on back into shape for the senior tour, right? So the Champions Tour is a completely closed shop. Okay, it's the hardest card to get, and it's because they don't
Yeah.
want you there. That's supposed to be the retirement party for the guys that played the
Agreed.
regular tour, right? Harry Toscano, if you remember back in the days, he filed a major class action lawsuit. It went nowhere, right? So I think that there needs to be more opportunities for competitive golfers, and I'm not sure. I don't even think live is the answer.
No.
You
No, and
follow?
I'd like to have something to do with it, having been there. And I know what's it. People say, "Why is the guy crying?" When you see a guy make a putt and make a cut or get his tour card and he starts crying, you don't understand that there's years and years and years of
blood,
heartache
sweat,
and blood, sweat, and tears. And I can almost cry for him when I see him do it. And you see his family come out. That was something. That was something I wanted to feel, but I could feel them when I see it. I want to try to organize an event here in Florida. I'm talking to 2 people right now who can help me pull it off, possibly at Innisbrook, where they play the Valspar, where we do something in the name of charity, preferably because my dad was close to Chichi's Chichi Rodriguez's Youth Foundation hosted a pro event with a decent enough purse to attract the guys that we were speaking about. But the new breed,
right?
The kids that are 22 to 28 years old, they don't have their card yet. They don't even have their corn. They're not even playing with the corn thing. And they need events to play in.
There's actually, have you looked at the minor league tour down there?
Yeah, but the purse is crap. By the time you
Yeah,
pay your
the
entry
one-day
fee and you
events.
travel,
One-day events and stuff like that. Yeah.
you got to have 25 to 50,000 for first place to bring in some talent, and to get really good players to want to come. So that's what I'm trying to do.
The Hooters.
I'm trying to make an event that I can play. The Hooters.
Well, the Hooters tour was pretty well funded, I think. I don't know how much the first place was, but
those were good.
People were
purses.
swarming from all over the country.
Those were good.
Yeah,
purses.
they were good purses, decent.
But there's
no, there's not enough. Not enough of an
and I have this fantasy of having a tournament where the winner gets sponsored for a year. That's his prize. He gets sponsored for a year.
Sponsored to
follow the sun and to play in everything and get him into tour qualifying with his entry fee.
Well, get him entry fees, and
because if
rumor board and
Here was my sponsor. You know, Wild Bill, love him like my grandfather. My dad was left the Fontainebleau in '84. In '86, I turned pro.
I have a quick question before you go forward. Okay, so I used to go to Miami every summer. Like I said, there's a Fontainebleau Hotel on Collins Avenue that has a mural. I don't know if it still has it. That if you're not careful, you'll drive right into the damn building. Remember that?
You paused. Can you repeat that? Because you paused.
It froze a little bit. Yeah. So there was a Fontainebleau Hotel on Collins Avenue. There. Had the
Facing
big mural,
South Beach, yeah.
Facing South Beach. That if you're going north on Collins and you're not careful, you might drive through the damn building.
Three-dimensional. Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. Was that where the golf course was? I don't see a golf course.
No, I'm
going
to paint it for you. Ready?
Okay.
So you know where the Fontainebleau is. It's just north of 41st Street in Collins, right next to the Eden Rock. You got the ocean. You got the Indian Creek. You know, the channel that runs. Okay. You have to go 20 miles west, just past Miami International, to get to Doral Country Club or the Fontainebleau Country Club. So imagine.
So you're going back to the airport.
So imagine, if you will.
Okay.
Imagine it's 1971, and not too far from the hotel on the beach was a golf course called Bayshore. It's now called Miami Beach Country Club or something, right near Lagos, right? That's where all the action was. Evel Knievel, Bobby Riggs, Marty Stanovich, the Fat Man, my father, Melhorn, Ice Cream Joe. That's the gambling circuit headquarters, Bayshore. Now, did they play Kings Bay and Lagos and Normandy Shores? Yes, but Bayshore was where all the action was. And my dad he was playing really good when he left the tour, supporting our family without his sponsor in that circuit. But he was playing so good, he couldn't get any action. So he ended up one day, he told the guy,
taking a job.
I'll play you on my knee. Just let me stand up when I'm putting. He beat that guy for 500. Another day, he threw the ball around the golf course, but he was allowed to putt. He threw his arm out, but he beat that guy. So there was all kinds of hustle matches. But here's what happened with the Fontainebleau. Ben Novak, the owner of the Fontainebleau, said to my father, hey, I just built the Fontainebleau golf course. You're the director of golf. That's how that happened. And then he was there 14 years. So I was 6 years old when that happened. So imagine me. I love golf already at 6. Oh, my gosh. I got a golf course now. My dad's the director.
But when I was going down there back when they had the North Atlantic tour, I was playing that one as an amateur. I played a couple of events, not playing it, but I played a couple of events there. I would go down there and Northwest, past Don Shula's, the golf club of Miami. East and West course.
Country Club of Miami.
That's a big.
My dad qualified.
That was called Country Club. It's called Country Club of Miami.
My family has 2 victories there. One, a small one. I won a Miami Open there. It's always been called the Country Club of Miami, West and East course. But Dad qualified in '68 for the U.S. Open there. He was a low medalist there. But that was a tough golf course.
Yeah, the West course was tough, and there was a lot of action on Sunday. On Sundays, they had a big game there. And then you go past that, you go like Jackie Gleason had something
the
up
Inverary
there too.
Classic.
It was Don Shula's, Jackie Gleason. Jackie Gleason had a par 68 named after him.
Well, you also had the Jackie Gleason Inverary Classic.
The Inverary Classic, yeah, that was named after him, sure. The tournament.
No, man, it was quite a scene in the 70s in Miami. Quite a scene.
So I wanted to cover...
If you loved golf.
Jeff.
And the Fontainebleau Golf Course.
And hopefully...
That became a hot spot.
Maybe interview
all the Miami Dolphins hung out there. Politicians, arch criminals, movie stars. Everybody came to the Fontainebleau.
Where's that?
The Fontainebleau?
Yeah. Now, so we've covered Jeff Lewis, right? Which was our original intention. Hopefully, if you can make that introduction, wouldn't be a bad idea if I He's a coach now. He's a coach now.
No,
right?
He's living in Florida. He's not doing anything. He's got some injuries right now that are not allowing him to do anything really with golf. But he won over 50 events. From mini tours, New England Open, all that stuff, Massachusetts, Jamaica. He could flat out play. And again, I think I'm sending you a video of me mimicking his swing. I don't have any footage, but Mark Brown up at Tam O'Shanter, believe it or not, his swing reminds me of Jeff Lewis's swing. He just the way he loops it.
Mark Brown. I mean, look, you came up to the Met section.
I came up to the Met section, and the only reason I wanted The
That
only
was
reason I wanted to be in it because there was no
right.
tournaments unless you were in the section. They didn't have any mini tours in New York.
Well,
Yeah,
that section, the Met section is on a par or higher than what was then the Nike
yeah.
Tour.
The
You had some of the best players in the world,
the
club
the
pros, up in the
the
Met
Met.
section.
I speak in a derogatory way sometimes in that PGA members are not professional golfers; they're golf professionals. But that doesn't hold true in like Texas, Florida, and New York. The guys in the Met section, I would imagine if some of them didn't have families or had they had maybe a shot with a sponsor, there's about 5 guys right off the top of my head that are to me they're PGA Tour quality players. I mean, Darrell
From
Kessler,
back
Mark
then, there
Milke,
are
Mark Brown, a couple of kids from over the bridge that can really play.
Rick,
Rick Hartman.
Rick, Rick
Yeah.
Hartman. But Rick Hartman and Darrell, I think, were on the European. There's a lot of guys that were
Yeah.
on the tour. So the time I saw you, I think it was at the Met Open. I mean, the
Yeah.
State Open
Yeah.
on the black. I think the following Open might have been the last one before they redid it. And that 15th hole, the Corral
Yeah.
hole, right? The up
Yeah.
elevated green.
How can I forget
The final group was Bruce
it?
Zabriskie and PJ
Yeah.
Cowan.
We haven't talked.
PJ
We haven't
Cowan,
spoken.
PJ Cowan, PJ Cowan. Oh, PJ, he's up here at Eisenhower. But PJ had just come off the Nike tour.
Yeah.
He won. He was
No,
a Nike
PJ's
tour
got
victory.
more.
And
PJ's got more talent in his finger than most guys on the tour today.
yeah,
No,
he's a good player.
he's not a good
But
player. He is severely talented at golf. Like I played with him
Yeah,
many times
so
in competition, and there was a mutual respect for ball striking. But that kid can flat out play, and
he can
only
buck.
God
Listen to me.
knows why he didn't get his tour card for real. Because only God knows why I didn't, and I know why I didn't. But PJ's got all of my respect as a player, more so than anybody in that section.
So Zabriskie tees off and PJ
Yeah.
tees off on that row on the 15th hole. Zabriskie, who's one of the great players
Yeah.
of the section, wing foot guy, I guess. He's got a hybrid in from after his drive. PJ's going in there with a lob wedge. I mean,
No, PJ could play, man.
that was.
PJ.
But that's why they need to stretch out the black.
No, they do. It's so unfair that only a couple of hundred guys get that card and the stuff they put them through and to be a closed circuit. I'm old school. Get rid of the all exempt tour. Get rid of it. Top 60 money winners keep their cards. The rest of you, I'll see you at tour school.
So hustle, man. It's a
Yeah,
grind. Welcome to the grind, right?
yeah. You wouldn't believe how many guys are supposed to be out there. You just wouldn't believe it. There's so much talent, Ralph, that you don't even know about. I made a video about 10 guys. There's 10 guys in Miami. You reminded me of Jeff Lewis and Pete Morgan. Now we're talking about PJ. And
right. PJ Cowan is
he's a world.
PJ Cowan
He's
is
a
better
world.
than both of those guys. He's better than both those guys, PJ. But so let's close it here, and we're going to rendezvous again so that you can discuss some of the topics within the golf instruction industry that you disagree
Yeah,
with.
sooner than later, Ralph.
And
that's very important.
And why?
That's very important.
Now, but here's the thing I want you to understand. This blog is unbiased, okay? So I don't have a problem with you addressing whatever you need.
I appreciate that.
And
I know
my personal biases for golf instruction or whatever have nothing to do with the blog itself, because the blog has always been open to anybody who has valid, procedures and whatever, and who disagree with something and can substantiate it.
Ralph,
right? I've had my share of crackpots on here too. So
let me proceed our future discussions with this statement. If you could put this on record. If you love golf, you're a friend of mine. I don't care if you have a different opinion of how to move the golf club. You're a friend of mine if you love golf and you respect golf, right? But if you're teaching golf, I say, please do this at bare minimum. When you tell somebody they're doing something wrong, address the cause of why it's happening rather than give them a quick fix. Like, hey, you're steep. Don't do that. Do this. I got a problem with that. I'd rather him say, hey, you're steep because of X, Y, and Z. Let's fix that. There's too much of that going on where people are accusing effect and not getting into the cause. And I found, and again, I was very lucky. I'm no genius. I was just born lucky. I found that you can trace cause and effect. I had a guy at the range today, good athlete. I could see he had legs. I said, "What are you, an ex-ball player?" He said, "Yeah, baseball. How'd you know?" I said, "Never mind how I know." But he was very stiff and rigid. And I said, if you just let me work on your grip just a little bit, that's going to perform a chain reaction of beautiful things in your game. What's going to happen is when I fix your grip, you're going to have no need to squeeze anymore because you're not going to fear losing the club subconsciously. Then your arms are going to get soft. Then your arms are going to start responding to your hip action.
I think it's going to work. It's going to
Yeah,
work its
and
way
then
all
it's
the
going to
way
respond
through.
to the hips. Then you're going to know what gravity and centrifugal force is. All of a sudden, you're going to quadruple your club speed and feel like you're working less harder than you are. Right now, you're working very hard and you got nothing.
Yeah.
So that's
Putting in a quarter of the
where
energy and
I
getting
go.
100% results.
Ralph, when I see guys name their school, I call my school Montes Golf. Why? Because I'm Sal Montes' son, and that's who gave me this information, along with Melhorn. And I try to mention Melhorn every day of my life to give him credit. But I didn't make a system, is what I'm saying, Ralph. I don't, and I'm going to be funny for a second. My system is not Stack and Wilt. My system is not the Energizer, the X Factor. I don't have a system. I say, this is gravity. This is centrifugal force, a rock on a string, right? This is what the arms have been doing since Harry Vardon landed. It hasn't changed. The equipment's changing. Motion in physics is motion in physics. Why are you going to tell a person, hey, when you're holding a golf club, you got to keep your head still and your arms straight and your foot down? Really? Those guys were playing with hickory and shot 65, didn't do it. Now I have to do it?
Well, the old school moves were very dynamic, and nobody was worried
They were
about
fluid, Ralph.
You watch the footwork of some of those old guys, and
they had
needed
no injuries.
They
had spikes. They had spikes. They had no injuries because of their footwork. They never torqued their back.
Yeah.
They had no injuries. And you know what, Ralph? If they missed the fairway, it was a shot penalty. Some of the times that rough was 2 feet high, 5 inches. The U.S. Open rough, did you see them crying? They wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, but how long has it been? How long has it been since you've actually watched a legitimate U.S. Open?
Me?
Yeah. In other words, this year's U.S. Open was what? No, this year's U.S. Open is the U.S. Open I remember. But there's a premium on accuracy.
Yes.
Where if you try to bomb engage, right? You're gonna miss the cut just like Bryson
and
did,
I'm not boasting, but look at my video on TikTok or YouTube 2 weeks before the Open. I predicted who was going to miss the cut. I told him it's not a bomber's course. My guy that I predicted didn't win, but the premium is on accuracy, and it should be. But I'm saying it should be more like that every week. And you know why it's not? Because Dean Beeman, the marketing geniuses with him, said you guys at home don't want to see 3 under after 4 days win an event. You don't want to see your favorite tour player shoot 74. You want to see Susan 3. So let's water down the greens. Let's make the speed the same every week. Let's shorten the rough to 3 inches instead of 5. Let's make it so these guys can shoot 62. And let's sell golf. That's what they did. They ruined it.
Well, his notion was that the average viewer doesn't want to watch a tour player struggle.
But they do.
They want to see him. They want to see him shoot lights out, and they may accommodate them. And I'm going to give you an example.
That's what I just said.
That Cap Cana has a course called Punta Espada.
That's a bad word.
Espada is a sword. It's one of the beautiful golf courses in the world. It's the number 1 golf course in all of Latin and South and Central America. It's the Dominican Republic. And they used to have a senior event there, right? Okay. So the last year, I think, this is what I'm hearing. Couples wins, right? However, 3rd or 4th round, the wind picks up. It's on the water. So links, the wind picks up to 30, heavy miles an hour. 40 or 50% of the field couldn't break 80. So they said, listen, man, sorry, we can't come back here. Well, you know what? Have you ever seen an Open Championship? I've seen Open Championships where it's raining sideways and guys are hiding, jumping in the bunkers.
Not anymore.
Just go for the next
shot.
Not anymore.
Cover. They changed the schedule of the event of the British Open. It's never in that bad weather. It was always raining in terrible conditions. That was the true test to go over there and battle those elements.
Yeah, that was the test. Yeah. The elements. How do you deal with the elements? How do you knock it down? How do you,
I
shot
say
making?
this, and I don't know.
That's the
I don't
test
know
of
where the
golf.
camera is. I'll look right. I say this to every PGA Tour player. You guys have no clue how tough it used to be for those guys. You're spoiled brats. You're spoiled. Yeah, I mean, go play the South African tour, the Asian tour, the European tour. Those guys have all the shots.
When you're watching, those guys would come back and bring in these knockdown shots and these low
Yeah,
punchers, and that's like, if you watch the old video, the old
yeah.
European tour, those they were playing on some Muni looking things. They were all dragging a pull cart, and that's the way the average guy plays, right? You're playing a Muni, and you're dragging a pull
Look
cart.
at Sevy's lineage, history. Look what he came from. He had all the shots because you had to where he grew up. You had to have all the shots.
Same with Olathobal, all those guys. All they have such great
Yeah,
short games. They have great short games
you
because they
had
needed
to,
to have
right?
great short games.
So, mind you that I'm brought up by Melhorn, who was, he played Scottish golf. Melhorn believed that the straightest faced club, the closest loft to a putter that the shot will allow, is the shot to play. And he didn't just mean that around the greens. I'd be 160 yards out. If he caught me hitting a full 9-iron or a full 8-iron, he'd probably not speak to me. He'd drive away. He wanted me choking down on a 6-iron and carving something in there left to right or right to left. I had all the shots because of Melhorn. But where he hurt me is I played so much of that Scottish golf in South Florida and in the wind that when I went to New York and now the greens are elevated and they're dimes, and all of a sudden,
Now you're playing
I had to make a
parkland
full swing.
courses.
I forgot how.
Well, that's me and Lopez won that. Well, we're on our way to a three-peat, our next one. But his game is that Melhorn stuff. So I'm like, I'll take like a
I'm
7-iron.
scratching
Right?
my legs
Like
because I'm getting
100.
attacked by mosquitoes. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know what that's like too. But anyway, so I got a 165. I'm gonna take a 7-iron and smoke it up there. Now he's gonna grab something like a 5-iron or a 4-iron,
That's
choke
right.
down,
That's
3/4
right.
punch it. But he's been a near
Yeah.
scratch golfer since he can remember.
Yeah.
He knows how to get the
Yeah.
ball in the hole.
I,
So we're different types of
No, he
players,
knows.
and he's still
I
he
gave
knows the
I
game. He
gave the
plays those
public a
little half
video the
shots
other
and-
day where I said, "You think guys on the champion tour are hitting knockdown shots and taking one or two extra clubs because they're old?" I said, "No, it's because they're smart.
Control.
Smart.
It's control. It's control.
When I see
Absolutely.
when someone brings me a young player and to get my opinion, what do you think?" I said, "Well, I can work with the golf swing, but he's pretty stupid." He goes, "Well, what are you saying that for?" I said, "Well, because he's 140 out and he's trying to hit a full sand wedge. I mean, you're a moron if you do that in my book. A complete moron. It's the
Right.
stupidest shot you could ever play."
Well, I mean, it's what people don't realize is that most pros don't swing at more than 80% at anything. They don't hit high sand wedges. They
Yeah.
try to keep
Once
the
or
wedges
twice
low.
around, I go all
Wanna
out
be
on
able
a
to-
drive or something. But most of the time, I'm
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
2 extra clubs, maybe one.
Yeah, you don't want to swing 100. You want to swing 80%. Keep it controlled. Keep
And
it
not
low.
only
and that's how I
that,
play it.
Ralph, you're able to maintain your timing and balance more consistently when you work within yourself.
Yeah, you stay within yourself. You stay structured. You stay balanced, and yeah. So our next rendezvous will be to address golf and the golf swing. In this particular segment, we just wanted to talk about
Jeff, and I'm
Jeff,
glad we got to mention
JC.
PJ and a couple of the other guys. I mean,
Yeah, JC Goosey Tour, the space
Yeah.
tour, and those were good times. Those are moments in history that are going to get
Yeah.
lost unless they're talked about in a public
Yeah.
forum like this YouTube or whatever. And it's good to have those names there because within that little subculture they accomplished quite a bit, and perhaps their performance or their struggles is what led to the creation of something like the Hogan Tour. You know what I mean? Well, they wouldn't have all exempt, but at least give them an option or a place to play
Yeah.
so they can work their way up.
I'm
minor
worried.
league
But I'm worried for
type
the
of thing.
future of professional golf. I am. I certainly hope. I know what Greg Norman was trying to do. I don't think what he did was the answer. I don't think the corn thing is the answer. Mr. Goosey was a great player. He was a senior. I caddied for him when I was a young guy too. He knew the plight, and thus he got Spalding to sponsor. It was the Spalding JC Goosey Space Coast Tour. It was a long name. But JC Goosey, he knew what we were talking about, and he provided us. Just like, people don't, I got to give a minute to Charlie DeLuca. Charlie DeLuca in Miami was the director of golf at Lejeune, which they've torn down, which is sad for me, but it was literally right next to the airport on Lejeune Road and right behind the airport. Charlie organized junior golf in South Florida. He made it that we actually had a circuit. When I was 8, when I was 10, when I was 12, when I was 14, I always had events to play in because Charlie made that happen. The Skipper Chuck Open, the South Florida Junior Championship, the Dade County Amateur, which I won in 1984. Charlie was right there on the green giving me my trophy. Charlie did so much for junior golf. And his son, I call him Charlie Boy. It's Charlie the Third because the grandfather was a pro too. He now runs Miami Lakes, owns Miami Lakes, and he's doing like a multi-million-dollar renovation. What the son did was carry his father's torch for junior golf and made the first tee program in Miami. And it started at Lejeune. But before the first tee, there was just whatever Mr. DeLuca can create for us. But when you're a kid, you're just showing up at events. You don't know that somebody did a lot of work to make this happen. But when I look back, and I was telling Charlie Boy the other day, I said, if it wasn't for your dad, a lot of us wouldn't have stayed with golf. He made it so we had events to play in as juniors, and ones I'll never forget.
That's good. So, Mike, we'll rendezvous again.
I look forward to it.
When you get. Yes, it was a pleasure.
This is a long one. Try not to cut it too much.
Yeah, we try to. It was an enjoyable conversation.
We love talking about golf. Remember what I told you. Even if you disagree with me on the golf swing, I still love you if you love golf.